Welcome to this week's Movie Math, giving you an in-depth analysis of the box office for the weekend of December 14th, where thankfully The Hobbit didn't take an unexpected journey at the box office. It was looking a little glum there for a moment, as the first entry in Peter Jackson's prequel was only at 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, but his faithful fans rallied over the weekend to deliver not just the biggest opening yet for the Lord of the Rings franchise, but the biggest December opening of all time. Now, sure, The Hobbit's debut is, well, the size of a Hobbit when compared to the debuts of some of this year's other big franchises. It's just the sixth biggest opening of the year. But then again, The Lord of the Rings has always been a long-distance box office grosser rather than a sprinter. However, what helped give the first three Lord of the Rings flicks such long legs was a slew of awards nominations. And as we all saw last week, The Hobbit was shut out of the Golden Globes. If the same thing happens at the Oscars, will Bilbo get lost in the crowd as 11 major films open between now and the new year? Thankfully, the film was very well received here on BTT and got an A on CinemaScore, so at least it has good word of mouth in its corner. And as the trend these days, it's posting incredibly strong numbers overseas, 138 million, which makes for a worldwide weekend of 223 million. Now for the big question, do I still think The Hobbit will make it to $1 billion at the box office? I say we have to wait and see if it receives any Oscar nominations, as well as how it handles the onslaught of competition next week. Now, as for the rest of the box office, how did they survive the first major film to hit theaters in 2 weeks? Well, like Smog, The Hobbit did hog almost all the cash, with the next crop of movies just pulling in around $7 million apiece. Still, that was good news for Rise of the Guardians, which is having kind of a mini rally, as How to Train Your Dragon did back in 2010. Still, by Dragon's fourth weekend, it had hauled in $158 million, while Guardians only just passed $70 million. Perhaps it would have done better had it been released during that 2-week lull rather than in the thick of things at Thanksgiving. Why Hollywood insists on releasing Christmas movies so early that by the time Christmas actually rolls around, those movies are playing in tiny theaters near you or not at all continues to be a real head-scratcher. Lincoln, however, is enjoying the kind of long-distance box office we were just talking about with The Hobbit, thanks to awards nominations. Its full sweep, from picture to director to writer to actors, resulted in a very strong hold. Passing the century mark, expect Lincoln to play all the way through the Oscars in late February. All the other flicks performed as expected, with the exception of Silver Linings Playbook, which also got some Golden Globes love and therefore held practically steady from last weekend. But for that pick to cross the century mark, nominations alone aren't going to do it. It's going to have to win. So remember how I said that 11 movies were hitting theaters over the next 2 weeks? Well, 7 of them are this week. In an effort to break out from the pack, The Guilt Trip, Monsters, Inc. 3D, and Zero Dark 30 in limited release are opening a few days earlier on Wednesday. Then on Friday, Jack Reacher, This Is 40, Cirque du Soleil Worlds Away, and The Impossible, also in limited release, will descend on multiplexes. Of the wide releases, Jack Reacher and This Is 40 are expected to duke it out for number 2 after The Hobbit, which even if it dropped by 70%, pretty much the worst a movie has ever dropped, it would still take first place. And that's the weekend box office. I'm Grace Randolph, and we just did some movie math. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.